Alright, I'll be doing initial testing on this bronze DSi XL. Ooh, a little beat up. It's got a good chip out of the back, right on the DS logo. Couple good scratches right there. Glossy shell pieces. Weathered, I would say. So let me look at my notes and grab my digital records to see kind of how this console fares. Well, basically to see if there's anything I noted about this console. This is a bronze 4098. 4098, okay, notes. Minor rust around the bottom screen and a new digitizer. Okay, cool. Usually the rust is surface rust, so I don't worry about it too much. Bent one game card pin up should be good. Okay, so I did bend a game card pin up. I must have done some initial testing if I knew that it needed to have the game card pins bent. Okay, yeah, that's really all I know. So let me turn this console on. I want to look at the screens. Oh, these are nice. These match really well. I feel like I can detect extremely minor yellowing on the corners of the bottom screen. Just a little bit. But I think otherwise, color-wise, they look great. Be gone, bot. I'll just turn that off. So let's begin. I'm going to do the 2 oddball tests right away, because they're not necessarily in my order sheet of tests, so I often kind of forget them, but they are very important. So first I test, does the console properly go into sleep? I spittle on it a little, which it does. Screens turn off, the power light's breathing. When I remove the magnet, it comes back on. Then I'll do an image retention test. Let me just make some notes here. Sleep and image retention. I almost feel like I should record just a VO of what I do throughout all of the tests and just play that. It's not that I don't like repeating it, but when I'm trying to do several consoles at once, it can be a little taxing. So what I'll do here is just sit on this menu for about 2 minutes, and I'm looking for this checkered pattern to be transferred to another application. And if it does that, that tells me that these LCDs are potentially failing. And it's something I address. And when they're failing, like, it is very clear that this checkered pattern was retained. It almost behaves like a OLED burn-in. My best guess is maybe just because the liquid crystals aren't refreshing fast enough and they're sort of retaining a previous image when they shouldn't be. So yeah, about 30 more seconds-ish. Okay. So now I'll quickly go over to the settings menu, which is a rather blank gray screen. See if I can see any of that pattern. Which I can't. Oh, and 3 buttons on English one. Huh. Weird aside. Okay. So it passes the image retention and sleep test. I don't detect any problems. Perfect. So now I'll go through the normal battery of testing I do. Start off with tactile buttons, which I'll use an R4 program, or a homebrew software on an R4 card. Yeah, I get it. So then what I'll do is press all the buttons a few times, see if they sort of match my rhythm. Face buttons I'm not too worried about, they're almost always fine. Save for any like water damage or liquid damage from stuff being poured on the console and getting to the motherboard. The ones that usually have the problems are the shoulder buttons, so I spend a little more time on them. That felt like a missed input, but my finger did kind of move out of place, so that may have been a fluke on my end. Oh, okay. So when I do light inputs, sometimes it will bounce in and out. Okay, I see. So when I press the R button, past the actuation point, and let go, not past the actuation point, so I'm still within that sort of press, per se, it'll cut out. But I haven't released the button, so to speak. So that just might need a cleaning. But yeah, this is exactly why I pay far more attention on the shoulder buttons, because they tend to have wacko issues like this. L button seems fine. So let me get that addressed. Obviously, I'll have to take the back shell off and get to the shoulder button. And then for cleaning, my best method that I've found is, of course, I'll get to it, but I'll fill up a bottle cap full of rubbing alcohol. 91% I'll be using. And then just completely submerging that shoulder button and just clicking it a whole hell of a bunch. Now, I did kind of learn that there's nothing really holding the internal bits of the shoulder button. Or there's nothing... How am I trying to say this? The little buttons themselves, they're... Functionally speaking, are the same as the face buttons. They have that little like conductive dome that depresses, and that makes the physical click, as well as bridging contacts on the motherboard. So it's functionally the same. The key difference is they're not held, or that little conductive dome isn't held down by adhesive. So on the face buttons, they're held down by adhesive, which almost kind of like isolates them from everything else. Sort of acts as a water barrier, really. So it serves as a means of protection. Where the shoulder buttons don't. They don't have that like piece of adhesive over them. So that could be partially why they are more susceptible to having connection issues. Could just be the position of the switch. But since the only thing really holding these buttons together are the metal housing, it's just friction fit. that could allow just moisture to get in to these buttons and corrode them a little, either through humidity or not. I'm not so much worried about like dust finding its way in there. I think it's more just like humidity. So what I have is just, like I was kind of explaining, I filled this little bottle cap full of rubbing alcohol. I just submerged it, and now I'm just pressing the button a whole bunch. Hopefully using that sort of dome-like piece to create suction and like force, like actual like forcing that rubbing alcohol around in that assembly to just sort of flush whatever's in there out. There's a little piece of dirt in there that I will like to get off. And then I need to let it dry for a big minute. Get my little cap cleaned. It's probably one of the most sterilized pieces of equipment that I have. Aside from maybe like the tip of my solder iron. I'm just gonna look at the button. I mean, it looks fine, but looks can be deceiving, especially since what matters is the internal contacts. All right, 91% alcohol, dries really quickly. Let's get it back together. I won't fully assemble it per se. I'm not going to put the screws in it. I'm just going to sort of press it together and check the R button again and see if that cleaning made it a little better. I am not going to trust that I completely fixed the issue. A lot of the times when I do that sort of alcohol bath on the button, it will say it will be fine, like it will respond perfectly, but then it's possible it will revert after a day or two after that area thoroughly dries. Like it's possible that there's still some rubbing alcohol inside the little conductive dome that I can't really physically get out. But it will dry. And sort of that dry state is where it's most important. So it is kind of flickering. Yeah, that's interesting. It's definitely better. Like, it's not actually cutting out, but when I pull back on my input, it sort of flickers a little. And just click it a few times to see if I can just like squeeze out any of that rubbing alcohol, or if there's even any in there. It was getting a little better. Yeah, like right there, it kind of flickered a little. Ooh, this is a tough one. Because it's not exactly going out, but that is registering as just the input going away. I'll make note of it. And see if it... I'm not so much hoping that it's going to go away. But I'll see if another test works, maybe even another round of cleaning, to see if that will make it better. It's sort of on the cusp of, like... It's almost a non-issue. But it is happening within the sort of click, like within that sort of click range of the button. Like even now I'm not even, it's gotten almost, I can't even repeat it anymore. I'll make note of it and see if that problem reappears. I really don't know how I'm going to sort of verbalize that. But for now, it does seem to work. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to word that so future me understands. Like, button drops input on pullback. That kind of makes sense to me. Not so much of it makes sense to me right now. Does it make sense to me in the future? And then I can just note that cleaning seemed to help. I never trust the cleaning results right away. Again, I like to let it sit for about a day, just to really make sure it's like thoroughly bone dry to sort of represent the most average condition. Okay, well, let me just write that down. R cut out on pullback. Cleaning seemed to help. Okay. So let's carry on. So the next test is the touchscreen, which this is a brand new digitizer, so it better be good, but I'm also going to have to be a little careful. Brand new digitizers, something about the texture that they use in digitizers are just a little more, I don't know if it's softer, it's just weirder. It has almost more of like a matte finish to it, so it kind of grabs onto styluses. Okay, it does a full perimeter without any problems. I'll sort of do swirls here to see if there's any erratic inputs. It might skip inputs because of the way I'm doing it through a microfiber cloth, so there might be inputs that just sort of don't appear, but that's sort of an artifact of kind of how I'm having to do this, so I don't scratch up the digitizer. It looks fine. Usually these digitizers kind of fail in spectacular ways. So I'm... Okay. Next is the speaker, microphone, and headphone jack. I'll combo that with an SD card slot test. I'll have to test the touchscreen more when I get a screen protector on it. Oopsie. La 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 la! Microphone works. No, I don't want to record another one. When I do the volume buttons, the little system meter is responding. Okay. Oops. Okay, interesting. Did I accidentally lock it? No. Fascinating. Okay, I don't think I've had this issue come up before. It's not my SD card. Let me try and do it outside of the application as I immediately open the application again. Alright, there it goes. Could just be because I was inserting it while it was in the application. So what I'm going to do is I'll have my earbuds here. I'm just going to play the song, listen to both channels, plug in the earbuds, listen to both channels. Okay, played the song just fine. I am going to sort of look into this a little here. Take my SD card out, I'll open up the application. I don't remember this ever being a problem. Inserting the SD card while I'm in the application. Huh. It's possible just a little bit of gunk on the pins and just a little bit of friction just cleaned it off. I've never actually tried cleaning the SD card slot, but I think it might be worth giving it a little pass. Oh, this SD card slot is, or that SD card is kind of a junky one. It's kind of failing on me. But I'll kind of clean this the same way I do game card slots. Functionally, they should be kind of the same mechanism. All I'll do is dribble some rubbing alcohol on the pins and then just take it in and out of the game or the SD card slot. Fair to say, this is the first time I've had to do this. Because at worst, it's benign. At best, it means that problem will never come up again. It really did behave like there was just maybe just like a little bit of something on those SD card slot pins, and then after I sort of rubbed it away with this SD card, it started working just fine. I read the song just fine, so I'm not so much worried about it. Alright, so next is the cameras. I don't do anything too special here. Just make sure that the cameras initialize and they show a display and there's no like weird things about them. Like there's no artifacting, it's not like weird colors going on. It shows the image I would expect of DSi cameras, which is not great, but it is. It is what it is. Okay, so I'll grab them. Next is the charge port test. Grab my charger. I'll kind of be plugging it in blind here. Which I would think I would be getting used to it by now. Okay. The software indicator is telling me it's charging. The charge light's going off, and it's pulling 0.5 of an amp. Close the console, and then I'll jiggle the charge cable around to see if I can get that orange light to turn off. Which it is not. So that's telling me that the charge port and the solder joints are good. Next, the game card slot. That would be the reason for this stack of game cards off to the side here. I'll kind of explain it as I go, as I sort of rapidly go through these, because... Ooh. This one's having issues again. Okay. Hang on. It's about right there. Okay. That's a problem. So... Okay, that one's disappearing a few times. So what I do is I put the game card in normally. That one's having problems. I'll put it in its own pile to see if it reads, which it does. Then I'll put my fingers on it and shift it from side to side. There's a little bit of play in the game card slot. This one's having problems too. And while I'm shifting it from side to side, I'll put a little bit of pressure on it. and sort of wiggle it down into the game card slot, trying to make the game card disappear, which so far we're 3 for 3. These game cards are disappearing. And I'll wiggle, sort of shifting it from side to side, I'll wiggle it all the way down until I hit the actual like ejection part of the game card slot, as well as all the way until I'm actually bottoming out the game card. We're 4 for 4 right now. And then, as you see, I also will hit the console on the back of my open palm to see if I can get the game card to disconnect, which they're not disconnecting on this test, but so far I'm 5 for 5. So that means this game card slot's having problems. I'm going to give it a cleaning. So kind of like what I did with the SD card slot, I'll just soak the pins in 91% alcohol, shake them off a little, and then just take it in and out of the console. Now I did mention I bent up a pin. That might imply that there's more pins that need bent up, or if it's just the game card slot was dirty and I neglected to clean it when I bent the game card slot pins up. I didn't really look at the game card slot when I had this thing open. I probably should have, but I didn't really think about it. I trusted the process, let's just say that. So, I'm gonna let it dry here for a second, grab some water. Do a little bit of look-see through my email. See if anything crazy is happening. Add another blacklisted phrase to catch those stupid viewer bots. Okay. Give it a courtesy blow. My game card pins weren't that wet, so they should have dried very quickly. I'll try that test again. I'm not going to trust the results. I just need to know if they're better. Why I don't trust the results is if there is a problem with the game card slot, cleaning might like feign a positive or it might give me a false positive, and then given a day or two, it immediately reverts back. Or it still has problems, but maybe it's not as bad. So I'll repeat the test. And so far, so good. At least it read the WWE game without any problems. And that's really all it probably needed. Or it's all it could need. I won't make any like grand statements right now. That'll definitely be up to test 2 to see if the cleaning actually worked. So every time it's been disappearing is because I'm ejecting the game card, which is kind of intended. The one I used for cleaning, I think, was the Bejeweled game, so I'll just let it mellow out. It doesn't matter, it's probably mostly dry. So I will make note that the game card slot failed, but cleaning helped. This one's sticky. I think I need to do some, try and clean that one. It keeps grabbing onto game cards below it. Oh, it did have some adhesive on it. Almost like sticker residue. Stand by. Don't know where that sticker residue came from. Not the biggest issue, it comes off with rubbing alcohol very easily. Carry on. I'm kind of thinking when I do my second round of testings, I'm kind of going to conduct in sort of the similar manner. I'm just going to sort of rifle through these. The test on this console is taking a lot longer, but if I can nail down a lot of these issues right away, then subsequent testing should be very easy. And if I can rifle through a console in like 15 minutes, then that's fantastic. Because a lot of these tests don't need too much care and attention, just as long as I do a good, thorough enough job. I think a lot of the times my initial testing videos, or the initial testing I did, I don't think I really ever recorded it. So I was just able to just shotgun through like a whole pile of them really easily. But a lot of the times when I record them, I get too caught up in trying to explain everything, but I'm only ever going to, I only want to do that during my the actual final test. That will be the third test. Because if it cuts down my time on doing sort of this stuff, because I don't necessarily need all that time to do these tests, it's more, like I was kind of saying, just me pausing and explaining everything, which I don't need to do. Like in the game card slot test, I can really just kind of rifle through 20 of them pretty easily. And so far it looks like this game card slot is good, but I'm going to currently interpret this as a false positive. I'll wait until the second round of testing to really confirm that this game card slot's good. But right now it's reading. I can't get them to disconnect willingly. Every time they've disconnected is because I've ejected. Alright. So I am gonna note this, that it needed a cleaning. Just game card slot needed cleaning. I'll just denote that it was during the first test. So the last test I do is the Wi-Fi. Is make sure that the console can connect to a Wi-Fi access point. Problem with that is the Wi-Fi in my house is way too new, so DSi consoles won't connect to them. So I will hold that test till the very end when I can connect to an access point on my phone, but my phone is currently being used as my camera, so I can't do that right now. Anyway, that did... I missed a step. Ah, okay. So I didn't check it off. Glad I remembered. So though it did have problems, I was able to get them onto acceptable parameters. So I'll pass it. I just have notes denoting that there are problems that I'll just have to keep an eye out in the future. Hopefully they don't reoccur, but only time will tell. On to the next one.